Today I'm going to be sharing how I stay productive and motivated whilst balancing work, fitness and life in general. We all go through seasons where we are less productive or just really busy when it comes to what we've got going on, busy in our heads, everything. I know I had 6 months where I was just really preoccupied by probably lots of other thoughts to do with the direction my life was going in and decisions I'd made, and I felt like I was kind of working every day, but my mind and just everything was elsewhere, if that makes any sense. So I wanted to share 7 tips on ways that keep me really focused and as efficient with my time as possible, meaning I have more time to do other things and more time for myself. This is something I'm so passionate about because I have found myself so many times in those ruts of just feeling like my days are just slipping through my fingers. I'm not getting anything productive done and I'm just wasting time on stuff that doesn't actually amount to much. So the first tip, and possibly the most important, is having a clear focus. I feel like our attention is constantly being grabbed every 2 minutes by our watches, our phones. We're so accessible now. It's just we're a phone call away or a notification away, and literally you'll be focused on one thing and then someone will call you or you'll see a notification and jump to it. So clearing your focus and muting the things that distract you and keep you from doing the most important things. So some practical tips that you can implement literally from today, if you aren't already, is putting your phone on flight mode and or night mode. So when I go to sleep, I always have my phone in another room. I don't sleep with it in my bedroom anymore, and on flight mode so I don't get any notifications. And also that way the next day when you do next go on your phone, you're not bombarded with notifications the first thing, you know, when you open your eyes. That also saves when, say, if like someone sent you a message or whatnot, you'll sometimes miss it in the morning. It saves some of that as well. Say if for some safety reasons you prefer not to do that, you could have it on night mode, and that way if someone rings you, it will ring through, go to voicemail the first time and then ring through the next time. And that's been so handy for doing tasks throughout the day. So if you're focused on a project or doing something really creative that you just need to have your attention on one thing at a time, then definitely use that if you aren't already. And that means you don't have to have your phone necessarily in a complete other room or actually locked away, and just really helps with that distraction. Researchers have found that our brains are so primed for this distraction that just seeing our phones impairs our ability to concentrate. As well, with so many distractions, you're constantly using your brain and fatiguing your brain with small little decisions that could be spent in areas that actually make the most difference. Some other practical things that I do day to day is I never start the day with all my tabs open, you know, like in Google Chrome or Safari. I'll make sure that it's all exited off from the day before, because I feel like I can get to the end of the day and I'll just have 10 different tabs, some of which are just reminders so that I don't forget certain things. And then you don't want to go into your next fresh day with all of yesterday's clutter in your mind. So starting the day with a really clear laptop environment is key. Another really helpful tip with having a clear focus is just spending as little time consuming so much on Instagram and getting into those loops where you're just flicking endlessly through reels. We all fall victim to it. I know I do. I'll just, you know, pick up my phone and next thing I've lost 50 minutes of my time and I'm scrolling down like a reel or something or on a short video, and then I think, wait, I was supposed to do an X, Y and Z. So just being really conscious with what you are consuming and making sure you create before you consume. And I don't just mean create content, I mean create something with your work, put your goals before anything else. The next tip is prioritizing. So the start of any work day, what I do is I write out my list. I do love pen and paper, and I kind of use time stripes, so like an online organizer, scheduler, whatever you want to call it, and my good old notepad and pen. And what I'll do is write my 3 top priorities, and when it comes to the top 3, these are specific things that amount the most. So generally the hardest things, not the itty bitty things, but that amount to the most. So sometimes it will just be one major thing if it's like a big thing. What I found I used to do was spend so much time doing all the little like itty bitty bits that don't really amount the most, that aren't the biggest heavy lifting tasks. They give you that sense of accomplishment, but don't really actually get you that step closer to your end goal. A really effective approach is the SMART approach. So you write down your goals and they are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And when you write your goals out that way, you just release a lot of those overwhelming feelings, you know, that anxiousness when you're like, I have so much to do, I don't even know where to start. That just eliminates so much of that, and it just means that you get a lot more done in your day. You don't feel like you're wasting as much time, and you can actually be specific. I've gone through so many phases of being really unmotivated, not wanting to get out of bed in the morning and just feeling lost. Say I have these big, massive goals, I have no idea how I'm going to get there, and writing my goals in smaller sections and just focusing on doing a little bit each day. Like sometimes it can feel like, oh, I feel like I'm getting nowhere closer, but you really are every day just chipping away at a rock. Especially if you're juggling multiple things, you're wearing so many different hats. This is the absolute key to just getting more done with the time that you've got. And then also separating your lists into priorities, tasks, projects, and then your quick to-dos. So when you separate this, if you are like me and just feel like your head is just sometimes very scattery, so say if it's like a big project, so like you're launching something, you can break it down into tasks towards that launch of the big project, and then your quick to-dos are just things that take like less than 5 minutes, and I don't prioritize these things, and then I just make sure if there's anything that I've not completed, I will add to the next day. But the aim is to not have those endless lists, because I think a big general to-do list just never really get it finished and you feel unaccomplished at the end of your day. If your goal is weight loss, say if you want to lose 3 kg and you just say to yourself, right, I want to lose weight, that is not being specific. It's quite overwhelming because you're like, right, I want to lose weight, but how are you going to do that? What is the timeline? So it's better off saying I want to lose 3 kg by December, and then breaking it down to like, right, each week, what do my habits look like in order to achieve that, and like what your timeline looks like. Generally, this is just so much easier, and you actually end up being more accountable and actually reaching your end goal. The next is building habits that create behaviors. So for me, a habit that I've created lately, and I just feel so good for, I can't even explain. Like I had a few months where, well, not months, no, it was probably 2 really bad weeks this year where I had zero motivation, and not even motivation, just zero drive. I was waking up and just not wanting to get out of bed, which is out of character for me and not something I want to experience again. But you don't experience the highs of life without these lows, and I just think you learn so much from the lows. And now I've got through that like hard phase of my life and darker times, shall we say, I feel like I've learned what I was doing wrong. So when you're going through something, if you're going through a hard time right now, just know there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and you learn so much from these moments, and we all go through them. Like the thing with routines is, you know, like you can easily get out of your kind of good, healthy habits, but you can always find your way back to them eventually. What that looks like for me is having a consistent sleep routine. Not only sleep routine, but I feel like there's a lot of talk on morning routines and not enough on your evening routine. I think having a good morning routine starts the night before. So that looks like for me having some time to unwind and chill out. I feel like I started trying to work right up until I was going to bed, which wasn't intentional, but just kind of happened, and I got carried away. And then I'd be giving myself 5 or 10 minutes to, you know, like shower, do my skincare routine, and everything would just feel rushed, and I'd be like scrubbing my face, stressing that I wasn't in bed early enough, and then getting into bed, just all I could think about, I was even dreaming about work, like in my dreams doing the work, which was just not a good place for me to be. So now having at least an hour where I'm not on my phone, I'm just doing something really indulgent, like watching a show on Netflix, or just reading something that I'm really interested in, calling up my friends or family, doing that, rather than just being scrolling mindlessly, like time flying, and I just feel guilty at the end of it. So having a relatively consistent sleep routine. This does not mean going to bed at 8 o'clock. I think I aim to be in bed for about 10-ish, sometimes later, but sticking to that has helped a lot with my morning routine. I feel like I actually don't wake up shattered. If actually falling asleep is something you struggle with, then reading a book until you fall asleep, listening to white noise is really good, or having like a fan or just something that you find relaxing, and making sure your actual environment in your bedroom or wherever you're sleeping is really to your taste, as in I really like an ice box of a bedroom. I whack the aircon on, or if I'm in the UK or whatever, I have like a fan just for the sound, and I find that super therapeutic. And then if I'm struggling to sleep, I might listen to a meditation, or I'll just read my book until I'm literally asleep. And then another little tip is I was reading so many self-development business books and getting into bed and still thinking, oh, I can't switch off, or I'd be thinking about ideas when I just wanted to relax. So switching my book to something like more spiritual, like a Deepak Chopra book or a fiction book, something like that, is another little idea. And then avoiding as much blue light exposure as possible. So if you've got any, like, you can get them on Amazon, these really cheap blue light blocking glasses if you do watch TV or if you're on your phone right before you go to sleep, because the blue light exposure can affect your circadian rhythm because it's telling your body that it's still daytime. So I'd really recommend trying to get off your screens, you know, like your laptop, before you want to go to sleep if you're finding that you're just wide awake when you get into bed. And then dimming all the lights. Like, I actually look forward to, at the end of every day, dimming down all the lights, putting my candles on, just making it all really chilled at home. And if you work from home, it's nice to have that separation between like work and then chill time. Paying attention to your food and drink before you go to bed. I still kind of fall into this sometimes if I've been rushing around, or like if I make a big dinner that takes longer than what I'd hoped. And I feel like I like to be washed in my pajamas when I eat as well, so I prioritize that, but not eating right before you go to bed, because you can have that uncomfortable, really full feeling. My camera seemed to cut out on that last clip. I really hope this has been useful, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more of these, pop them in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next one.